Well, hey, everybody. Dr. Scott U-Haul coming at you with another virtual coffee chat on a Tuesday afternoon. And I'd like to say thank you for taking a little bit of your day and sitting in on today's program. In the month of December, we're going to do things a little differently, and we're going to talk about the right principle and the concept of emotional wellness. And if you were at our program last week, we got started with the whole idea, or the whole program. And today we're on the letter I. Let me switch it. We're on the letter I of today's acronym, was getting right with your emotional wellness. And today we're going to talk about interpersonal skills and interpersonal relationships. We're going to talk about the importance of them, how they influence our health and quality of life, and why we actually need these kinds of relationships. And we're going to give some examples of how to strengthen interpersonal skills, relationships. And then we're going to end up talking about some things that you can do to strengthen the relationships with the people that you have in your life, the friends that you love. For some reason, I'll keep wanting to say that. And we're going to deal with that during the COVID-19 crisis. So we're going to take some lemons and turn them into lemonade with that concept. So thank you for timing in on today's quarter hour of Wellness Power. As usual, I want to say thank you to Kangaroo Coffee for being our sponsor with the virtual coffee chat. And as usual, we always get started with our little disclaimer. If you haven't had your annual physical, make sure you get it. If you're on our healthcare plan here at Phil Long, you can get that done through our Care Here clinics, either in Littleton or at the Sinton Road location. And if you're going to be doing some going up in the mountains and doing skiing and things like that, and you haven't gotten your physical, please make sure that you get that done, because I don't want something bad happen to you while you're having fun in the wintertime. So it's all considered preventive care, so there should be no charge to your health insurance, no co-pays, nothing like that. So get that done. All right, let's get after today's presentation. Again, getting right with emotional health. The first one, the R, was about resiliency, and now we're going to talk about interpersonal skills, and I'd like to kind of define that. And these skills are traits or characteristics, they're behaviors that we as all individuals have, and we rely on them when we interact, we cooperate, we communicate with people, we do things together. They're kind of innate, if you will. They're ingrained within us. A lot of people call these people skills, but again, they're modeled, they're learned. We talked about social learning theory a couple coffee chats ago, and how people form behaviors, and really this is kind of an extension of that conversation. And one thing I do want to talk about today that is really kind of missing from the conversation is body language. And when we interact with other people and we talk, body language is so critically important in how that message is conveyed. In fact, about 93% of a conversation is really nonverbal in its communication. You have a visual element, and then you have a vocal element to it. And all of that we interpret individually to I don't know, coalesce and see how develop the conversation that we're having back and forth. And so examples of interpersonal skills, I won't go through all these, but I do want to mention a couple because we'll come back to them. And one of them is what we call active listening. And it's not just listening per se, but it's active listening. And that helps an awful lot to better understand where someone else is coming from, their intent in their conversation. And it's really helpful. And we're going to talk about that more in a minute. Empathy, we're going to talk about patience, motivation, dependability. All of these are concepts that are related to our grab bag of behaviors that we use, again, to interact with people. So we got a bunch of those. There's a lot of others there that aren't listed. But let's talk a little bit now about how we use these interpersonal skills to develop what we call interpersonal relationships. And just let me ask you a question real quick. How many true friends do you have out there in the world? How many acquaintances do you have out there? A lot of us probably have many more acquaintances than we have true unconditional friends. Those are kind of hard to find. And one thing I want to mention is that time is of the essence. We can never really get back time. And so pick and choose your relationships wisely. Develop and nurture relationships that are symbiotic in their nurturing, and you get enjoyment and satisfaction out of that. That helps to alleviate some of the stress response. We've talked about the flight or fight in previous coffee chats. And when you develop strong interpersonal relationships, whether it's with one or two people or many, they really, really help with our quality of life. They slow down the likelihood of getting, we've talked about inflammation, we've talked about heart disease, and a lot of this occurs. Interpersonal relationships are a great way to manage stress. And I'm talking here a little bit about this vicarious experience, and you might have heard that term before, but that's a feeling or an emotion that you get as a result of interacting with someone else. And if you can get positive, we talk about distress and eustress, but if you can get eustressful, positive energy from those around you instead of distress or negative energy from others, again, it really has an influence on our long-term health and quality of life. And really, how we utilize these skills and traits are really the context that I've got there in well, whatever you call those, but you can call it, whether it's friends or family, it could be marriage, it could be work relationship, it might be your friend that you meet at the club or the gym. No clubbing or gymming at the moment, but there's an awful lot of places where you can interact and develop strong relationships. And again, these have been proven time and time again to be beneficial for our health. And really what's kind of differentiates acquaintances from true friends, from those that we love, relates to the amount of intimacy, the trust, the caring, the sharing of feelings that we have. And the deeper the relationship, the more likely we are to be open in those, because honestly, everybody needs a little bit of help and a little bit of social support from time to time. We're not meant to be individuals. Human beings weren't designed, if you will, to be that way. So let's talk a little bit about some of the correlations between people that have good, strong social skills and also interpersonal relationships that are quality and meaningful. And again, I want to mention the time element. If you're not getting a lot of satisfaction out of the people that you're spending time with, you might want to address that. And, how can we make that better? Or, maybe you find find people with things that you have more in common with so that you can build these long-lasting friendships. But people that do have these have a few things in common. And number one is they have a very strong sense of themselves, their interest in life, where they're going. They have a good sense of self in the sense that they know what they want, they know what their expectations, they know what they like, they know what they don't like, and then they live their life accordingly. So they have a strong self-esteem, and a self-esteem is basically a confidence of how you feel about yourself. And the stronger your self-esteem and your ability to accomplish tasks, the easier it is to overcome, the less intimidated you are by new things. So very important to point that out. They can manage difficult or unexpected situations. Again, I'm kind of a creature of habit. When somebody throws something out of the blue, I get stressed. But if I had someone to rely on, hey, I've got this new task that I had at work, or I don't really understand what's doing, can you help me out? When you can fall back on someone like that, that's a good resource to have. And I encourage you to do that. A lot of times, you feel other people are too busy, or, this is my responsibility. If you need a little bit of help, feel free to reach out to people, because it really does go a long way. Stressful situations, I've kind of talked about this, the fight or flight response and inflammation. But people that have a good, strong social network can manage stressful situations a lot more effectively and a lot more healthfully. They find the good in things instead of saying, oh my gosh, COVID's all around, look at everything that's going on. Let's think of new and creative ways to interact with each other. Zoom is one example. When's the last time that you've actually sitting down and written a letter to someone that you like? That'd be nice to get a letter in the mail from someone you hadn't seen. And, it's all good. It's all kind of developing a healthful environment instead of letting a distressful environment get the best of us. They're more open to express empathy. Again, empathy is, Scott, I understand how you feel. I realize you're going through a real tough time. And, I understand that, and I'm sorry that you're going through that. If you truly can feel other people's pains, you're much more likely to be sympathetic to the cause, more likely to be grateful and helpful to that individual, and more willing to kind of go out on the limb and help that person. And again, in this time, this day and age, we could all use a little bit more of that. I mentioned the reduction in likelihood of chronic disease, and again, I'm talking heart disease, diabetes, cancer, dementia, arthritis, a lot of these things that are just manifesting in our life, especially as we get older, are, believe it or not, can be influenced by the relationships that we have. So don't waste your time with the negative and the unresponsive relationships. Try to grow the relationships that are helpful and happy to you. And then another thing is that people with strong social ties, less likelihood of depression, drug abuse, suicide. And, again, that's unfortunately kind of running around more rampant in our environment right now than we'd like. So how can we improve interpersonal skills and interpersonal relationships? Well, I got a few suggestions here. And I mentioned earlier about listening effectively. And what I mean by that is when someone's talking, instead of waiting for them to take a breath so you can start talking again, listen to what they're saying. Listen, and affirm what they're saying, and say, wow, Scott, you really did have a tough day today. Man, I can see that. And you can enjoy the football game tonight and relax. Or even more so, you can reflect and have summaries, and you can say, like, Scott, God, you had a lot going on today, but is this what I heard you say? Is this how you're feeling? Is this how I can help? And if you can affirm and reflect on some of the concepts, then you're much more likely to be able to help that person with what their need is. A lot of times someone just wants us to listen to them, and that's a good thing too. But having a constant, consistent, positive mental attitude, a good PMA. Is the glass half full? Is it half empty? Well, I'd like to think it's half full. But if you can find the goodness in things, again, a lot of us are having to stay home, but instead of saying, wow, I have to stay home, how about getting together with someone that you love, your spouse, your kids, and saying, hey, let's do a crossword puzzle. Let's play score a word, or let's play that game where you put the little phrase up on your head and you have to guess what the word is. Again, turn lemonade, make lemonade out of lemons. But be positive, be optimistic. Those are great characteristics to reduce that stress response. Yeah, I mentioned empathy towards others. We really don't know the shoes that other people are walking in. And, sometimes people are having a bad day. Just a little bitty thing like saying, hey, I like the way you look today, or I hope you're having a good day. That really goes a long way with maybe somebody that's having a little bit of a rough day. So always try to be positive, be grateful for the things that we have, and look out for other people where you can do a kind thing. Do your best to do that, because again, karma's out there, and karma will pay you 10 times over. Now, a couple things that you can do at work that are helpful to you. Try to, again, I mentioned empathy and patience in your decision making. Try not to immediately make a decision. Think this through. Look at the pros and the cons. What's the benefit? What's the drawback of that? And then make a solid decision. Try to get other people, if you're working with a group or a team, make sure that you get their input. Get their feedback. Get it from everybody. And if there's an expert that's out there, definitely have them in. We've been doing coffee chats, and I think we've had 10 or 11, maybe 12 experts come in on our coffee chats, and they've really added a lot of great information to the program. So get people with like minds and solid minds together and solve problems where we can. Trust and camaraderie will actually develop over time when you work together. Acknowledge other people's input. And one thing I do want to mention, even if you're the big man on campus, be humble, have humility. Always crave for more knowledge and more information, but be able to laugh at yourself, and things go a lot easier. Don't be intimidating. Think about what you say before you say it, because again, that all influences how other people respond. Man, we've got tons of comments in the chat room, and we'll get to that here in just a minute. So thanks for your input. Look at that guy in that fancy car right there. There's an effective leader, I'll tell you. Now, I want to leave you real quick with just some things. Dr. Maria Vinicius of Purdue University is looking at COVID and interpersonal relationships, and she's got some really good ideas to how to keep all this stuff normal. And I'd like to share those with you, and then we'll get to the chat comments. But to the best of your ability, try to maintain your normalcy. You know, have dinner with the family. You know, if you call grandma every night or someone, you know, make sure that you do that. Continue to be as normal as you can. But that stated, be open to new ideas. I'd mentioned, you know, we can't get together maybe for the holiday season, but you know, maybe you get a Zoom party going, or you write a letter, like I said, or you do some random act of kindness. You know, stay connected with your friends. You know, don't forget about them. And if you're having a hard time, you might want to rely on them for comfort. Just this weekend, for example, I had a little bit of food poisoning, and my neighbor had heard about it, and he called me up and said, "Hey, do you need anything from the store?" And I said, "You know what? Yeah, I sure could appreciate that. That would really help me out." It took a strain off my chest. My neighbor helped me. He felt good about what he did, and you know, it was a great thing. So try your best to do that. Rely on your network. You know, but don't forget the things we're talking about. When you're out in public, wear your mask, wash your hands, social distance, and then again, look for the silver linings. Don't look for the negatives in things. Look for the silver linings. Hey, if you have to socially distance, get out there on that golf course and do a little solo golfing out there. I think your social distancing will be fine. Try to take advantage of new opportunities. In fact, make new opportunities. If you're not very good at baking, maybe you get yourself a cookbook and you try to cook and do something there. But no, let me ask you this. What do you do for your good health? What are you doing to keep a mindset upstraight and going straight and level in this COVID? Put it in the chat box. Let's see. We got some chats. We got 20 comments. We got funnies, laughing, haha. Got lots of friends, 2 to 3. Going true friends. We got 15 friends. We got 2. We got 3. Time is extremely important, absolutely. And again, good friends are hard to find. Dave, you're a funny man. Haha. So, anyways, I tell you what. Again, folks, you know, we're going to go get through all this together. Do the very best you can to strengthen the relationships you have. When you find something that's getting you down, do your best to get that out of your mindset and then do something positive and constructive. So, like I said, this isn't going away. It's how we're dealing with this situation that we're going to get through it. So do your very best. Say hi to somebody you haven't talked to in a long time, and we'll do the very best. Next week, we're going to talk about gratitude. And I'm looking forward to that because, again, that's actually a concept. That's a concept that's got its own philosophy to itself, and that's the G and the right principle. So tune in next week, the same time, same channel, to talk about some gratitude and mindfulness. And we'll get all through this because, again, at the end of the day, the right principle and practicing emotional wellness during a tough time in December and the holidays is what we're looking for. So thanks for your time, folks, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Got a couple more chats. Oh, you're very welcome, folks.